and welcome back to the second day of reviewing awesome awards websites and trying to break them down. Alright, so the very first site that we're going to be looking at today, this is super duper fun, is Silencio.Espanol, I hope. Silencio is this beautiful, amazing 3D inspired, really cool, really nice site, and at the very core, we're just going to start breaking these things down right away. This is a very plain, simple 3D website. It's just 3D and that's it. So the very first thing that you need when you're building something 3D is either have a library like 3JS or something in JavaScript going on, or, and this is the easier option, you can have these 3D videos like the one we have in the background. So this is a video if you guys need to know about what it is. This is a video, and then there's just this plain text, and once you start to drag, let's just remove all audio, otherwise copyright claims will eat this channel alive. Once you start to drag, you start to see these really simple fonts, and there's just one video that's playing in the background infinitely. And then again, I have said this yesterday, I will say it again today, one font has to be extremely big, one font has to be extremely small. A baby could tell you that the font size between this and this is extremely different, and the reason this is so important is because if you have a distinct difference in font sizes, you are not going to confuse users, confuse the people who have not designed your website. You're not going to confuse them about what this title does for the website and what this description does for the website. So the most important thing as a UI designer that you think is the user needs to read the title, and so that inherent sense of where things should go is already displayed. Once you make one title extremely large and the other text extremely small, white space or breathing room, if you want to call it that, is always present in the site. There's a lot of space on the left, a lot of space on the right, and a couple of elements on the side which honestly aren't that many to begin with, but the fact that they've put a lot of logos and a lot of little icons is what makes the site appear complicated. So the very first thing that's happening here is this is going off infinitely, and this could be text, but I believe this is a video because this text is not selectable, and this is a video that's sort of using the marquee tag in HTML and just going up and down. I think this is a video, by the way. Maybe it's hidden in some form and maybe this is just simple text, although it would be easy to do either. This is a video, and then you have this constant flickering of scroll to discover, and we're just covering the things that are on the corners right now. These are the things that are hidden in the background, make you feel like the site is complicated when it is not. This is a very simple logo that asks you to check out their selected works, and this sort of just opens up when you hover over it. This is a very simple effect, you guys. Scroll to reveal. We're going to be taking a look at this in today's UI design at 8 p.m. and again, super duper fun effect. This is just simple, one simple QR code right next to your scroll bar. You can add any image of a QR code, something that has lines and stuff in it, or make your own in Figma, and this seems like a receipt of something that you would purchase. So it just has that inherent buy something feel to it because they are selling digital products, which you now start to notice. Also, one really cool thing that you might want to notice here is sometimes when you have a lot of text on your website, it's always a good idea to have a weird icon, and by weird I mean something that does not make sense. So contemporary brands did not in the beginning need any icons, but right now we just have these two dots and a dash. They don't serve any purpose in terms of the meaning, but it provides a little bit of a relief from this really adult, complicated, big text, big paragraph, big brain website. So this is a really nice relief, a really nice UI design effect, and it just makes it easier for users to understand. And again, all of these are just simple text. Change the font size, change the spacing in the middle, and you're good. And as I said, this is always going to scroll up and down. So now once you start scrolling, just like this scroll bar is going down, in the exact same fashion, another line of text is coming down. And I think we said this yesterday as well, it's a really nice UI design effect if you're scrolling down but something is happening above. That's just one of the things that blows my mind as a UI designer, but is really simple to do. We're going to be building this out this week during the 8 p.m. streams, which is going to be the best blessing in the whole world. Today we are also looking at the navigation section, which in my opinion is the simplest of all. They've just got 4 titles here, no funny effects happening, nothing happening. Throw in a simple text box, that's it. That's it. And I said this just now. If you remember, when you have a lot of text going on, it's always wise to have a couple of icons that may not convey specific meaning, but they just make your site so nice to look at. So check this out. You don't need to have this fire icon right here, but they do. You could just have typed some text right here, but they have added this icon. The most simple reason for this explanation is comic relief, plain relief, because this site would get, the way this is made, this site does not have any color, it's a completely black and white site. The way this site is made, you could get tired of looking at this interface really easily. But if you start to add this fire icon, if you start to add this danger icon, now things become interesting. Speaking of interesting things, check this out as well. Unique, innovation, memorable. This could have been plain text, a part of this paragraph, but they've added, and this is the reason their site is on Awwwards and your site is not. I'm just going to put this bluntly. When you don't have too many colors to work with, when all that you can work with is white, black, and maybe some shade of gray, it's nice to always notice and copy these little patterns that great designers use. They've built this whole text box, and then inside of this text box, in the middle of two different words, they have added these three little words which they want the user to notice. These are qualities of their product, and that just makes everything so much better. Otherwise, this is just simple a slab of text, one simple slab of text, and it just becomes so complicated. Again, the focus that the UI designer has in the next section is also on making things extremely simple for you as the user to see. So this site gets boring really fast. I just said this right now. And to break that chain of boringness, they've broken this text down into two different parts, and then that basically lets the user look at things in a relaxed manner. So the user, they could just have put this in one single paragraph over here, but just one single paragraph dead in the center, but that would have made things extremely boring. They've just broken this down to give the user some amount of relief. Take a look at the left section or take a look at the right section, and I personally took notice of the right section first, and that's the reason to why people usually look at the right section first when they've divided it into two sections, and that is because of this icon and just the stuff that's going on here. So they've made this section interesting, added a lid and icon and stuff like that, and that makes the user sort of take a look at this direction. Again, do not forget the fact that these are two very different font sizes. A baby could tell you that, and that helps the user focus on the title first, and then they take a look at the description. Always copy it for all your UI designs. Again, this is a very cool 3D effect happening. You could do this with spline. In fact, we might do it with spline. If you want to see that, subscribe. And again, this has been placed in front of this guy, so this has been placed in front. You could send this text layer to back. This has nothing complicated happening here at all, and so to add a sense of depth, they've just sent it to back. Right click, send to back. Simplest effect in the whole world. Once again, for crying out loud, they've just put in one simple slab of text. To make things interesting, they put in this beautiful image and added a border radius. Are you guys noticing this? Just type yes in the chat if you're noticing this. They've broken down boringness, extreme fatigue with just adding something in the middle of their huge boring paragraph. Sometimes they put icons, sometimes they put beautiful little words, sometimes they put these little images with cute little border radiuses. If you guys notice this, just type yes in the chat. I also think when you scroll down, this generates a beautiful receipt for you as well, which gives it the whole buy something kind of feel, which is awesome also. And again, once again, they've built a great, I said this yesterday and I'm going to say it again today, common with all of these streams. Once you design something or component in UI design which you are a fan of, once a component that you've built works really well, you repeat it 10 times again on the same UI design. They built this beautiful two-section divider that helps the user break the monotony of this whole section, and then they've just done that exact same thing here as well. They've broken their text down into two different sections, same exact placing, same exact positioning, everything is exactly the same. They've sort of just broken it down, and that gives the user a lot of relief, a ton of relief. Again, adding icons in places where things would otherwise have gotten boring. This could have looked like a printed page if they had not added icons that made things look fun and playful. And again, the same exact thing happens here as well. This is a simple barcode, a simple line that is always scrolling. And right now we have, again, this receipt keeps on increasing depending on where you are in the scroll bar, and as we progress further down, this receipt will also increase in size, is what I believe will happen. And again, this is a simple box, nothing complicated here. But the reason this becomes so special, and I'm just going to get into that right now, is they've just placed simple text here. In fact, it is quite boring and quite irritating at this point, but they've just sort of made it so that as you start to scroll down, this box starts to scroll down, and this effect is going to be covered in tomorrow's day 26 UI design live stream at 8 p.m. So we have actually built this out into a really beautiful prototype, and we'll teach you how to make this in Figma. So just do not miss tomorrow's stream or today's stream, because today also has some really cool bangers for you guys. Let's just keep on scrolling down, and again, this now starts to scroll to the right side, and that's also one of the same effects happening where you are basically trying to scroll down as a user, but the object tries to go on the right side, and that makes things look interesting. Once you figure out how to move things in directions that are not the genuine up and down directions, because when you're trying to scroll down, when your object starts to move on the right or starts to move on the left, that is when magic starts to happen. That is when you can categorize your website as an awards website. That's the moment it starts happening. And as soon as you start to scroll, and as soon as this text comes into view, they just basically put down this same text box. They've sort of shifted it around, took it to the right side. They did not take it out of the frame, they just switched out the text with a really simple switch animation, which is actually something we did on day 2 of the 100 days of UI design challenge. Check out the second video, we've done this effect on that in Figma. Very simple, very cool. And again, once again, they have not disappointed us. These designers have added one other image which is almost equal to the font size here as well, but they've added this exact same image just to break the monotony of things. No other reason that I can think of why they'd want to add an image over here other than to break monotony of things, because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, this is a black and white website, not many colors, no interesting fonts either. So when you add something in the middle of a big piece of text, that makes things look really nice. And again, I just said this before, I will say it again, if you stumble across a UI design effect, even by mistake, although they have probably designed it with a lot of intelligence in mind, if you start to divide these columns like they have, if you start to stumble upon an effect that you really like, you design it once in your site, use it 8 to 10 different times. That gives it a sense of unison that nothing else will. So they basically broke down the sections into 2 different sections in the last 2 sections, and so they've just repeated that over here, added 3 different sections, gives this the kind of unison that nothing else will, added a couple of icons, add a little bit of a description, and again, they keep on adding these little things, because otherwise this is a very boring site. If they did not add these interesting elements, it would be a boring site. When they start to add interesting elements which are basically aligned, not in random places, they are very mindful of that, not in random places, in places just above our main text. So they have perfectly aligned this guy in the center, perfectly aligned this with the right edge. Once you start to align things perfectly, that's when your magic starts to happen. Once again, saying this for the 4th time in this same exact stream, they've given us a basic paragraph of text, added words in the middle just to make things interesting, added this image right here, although this might be a plain image for description of this, plain text for description of this image. They never like to keep things boring. Even when you have a site which has black and white color schemes, no 2 fonts, just one single font, nothing interesting either, they've just put down this little text in the middle, and that makes things look interesting once again. Very cool technique. Take it from today's UI design, do not miss it. And again, the same receipt which we had for number 1 also appears as well. This is quite boring in my opinion. This isn't even good. Like this is just crammed together, and kerning and everything is off. But the level of animation effect that they give you, which is basically them scaling this down, and we're going to cover this effect tomorrow in the 100 days of UI design challenge at 8 p.m. in standard time. Do not miss it. Really cool effect. We'll cover this. Very simple to make. Just the simplest thing in the whole world. And again, they've just switched out these numbers. We did this effect on day 2. We'll also maybe cover this again this week. And as soon as you start to scroll, as soon as this scroll bar length starts to increase, the length of this receipt also starts to increase, which is also something they've kept in mind. This marquee tag is continuing as always to break the monotony of the black and white and plain fonts. They've added an image in the middle as well, and just they've started to divide this into two different columns again. Once again, they've started to divide the whole thing in two different columns, added some text here, added an icon here, added some more text here, and everything is aligned in the center, which is why it just works completely. Again, for the third time, we have the same exact card, same exact boring, I think I came to the wrong place. I should just switch out. Same exact patterns, and they'll just basically check this out, you guys. Same exact pattern, and now they'll just scale it down. They'll just see, they just scaled it down. Simplest thing ever, a very, very simple effect. It was quite boring at first, in fact, and then they just scaled it down to the top left section, and that made things interesting. And again, you start to scroll down, but their box starts to go to the left side. This is what makes your UI interesting, even though there's nothing much happening. You just start to scroll down and it starts to go towards the left. Very, very simple stuff. Again, to break the monotony of this paragraph, they've added an image, and that just makes your UI so much more interesting. If you guys are having fun, make sure to like this video. We come here live every single day, 6 p.m. Indian Standard Time, talk about how to break down, how to make these awards websites, and also we take these effects, build them on our own at 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, same channel, 2 hours down the line. Just make sure to like this video if you are liking what we're doing. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to look at, again, they've just perfectly aligned these sections, breaking them down into 2 sections, which is again very signature of them, and just added a random element over here. These elements make your design look interesting. If you are a web developer, just use position absolute. That is going to be your friend. So good for UI design. So good. And again, they've just taken this card, very boring. You will remember me saying this, very boring, and then it sort of just scrolls down and just scales down to become this small card. We are trying to scroll down, but it scales towards the right, and that is what makes their site interesting. Overall, they have 4 cool effects. This card that scales down, this side marquee effect that keeps on going, the paragraph which has this image in the middle, and probably one other thing. They have 4 effects which makes their site so great. Even though they don't have a color scheme, they do not have a color scheme in this UI design, just black and white. They do not have 2 very complicated fonts, just one main font here and one font for the receipt. Just 2 different fonts, 2 different colors, nothing complicated. Simplest design ever. 4 simple effects that they have used like 8 to 10 different times that make their design awards worthy. Super simple effects that you can just learn, you can just take away. And I don't think these tutorials, just doing these simple effects, is that complicated. Like, you could find tutorials on YouTube, you could find tutorials across the internet, very simple stuff. If you start to use this in your beginner UI design portfolio, it will take your UI design game from 0 to 100. I can guarantee that. Next section, this I said this yesterday, a couple of you might remember. If your UI design gets boring, change the color. Just get a simple square that sort of scrolls up. This is pagination and some scrolling effects and stuff like that. Very simple stuff to do. I will cover this at some point in our 8 p.m. series. And again, this font size, very different. This font size, exactly the same. So what they're trying to convey here is this font size and this font size are of the same exact worth and value. Maybe there isn't a lot of paragraph, but they're trying to get us familiar with this font size. But these 2 font sizes on their own are so different. Like, check this out. One letter of this UI design is much heavier than their whole 2 words. So extremely different font sizes, a baby could tell you that. And they've added images in the middle of the paragraphs so that your UI design does not become boring. Super important to take a look at. Again, these images are scrolling on their own in the background with different speeds. This happens through a very simple scroll effect. We'll cover this at some point. There's also a great tutorial on scroll delays by Jesse Showalter if you want to check it out. I think it's either by Jesse Showalter or Tim Gabe, one of those 2, and you can just check out this scroll speeds Figma tutorial, and that's just going to simplify this whole section for you. I think it's by Tim Gabe. You should check it out, because we might build something like that in the future on this channel. But if you want immediate results, you can just check one of those guys out. Great guys. Again, we have 2 different sections here as well, breaking down the boringness, the monotony. This marquee effect has been with us since the beginning, still continues to be with us. Super duper fun. And now our 3D video is back. This is a video in the background. Do not get confused. This is a plain video in the background. I did check, and it just sort of sits into place with your scroll positions. This is the footer. It looks extremely complicated, but in the middle of the next 2 minutes, I'm just going to break this down. So just watch me. They have this very very simple footer which has stuff, and the reason this site looks so good is they have made sure to add something on all of the columns. There's this vertical description bar that's sort of on the right side, on the left side, sorry. This receipt has continued to be with us, and as long as when we're in the beginning of the page, this was a little bit smaller, but it sort of revealed itself. This was sticky, position sticky in Figma, and this just sort of revealed itself as we were sort of scrolling down. Very very simple text here, very very simple text here. For the links as well, they don't have anything complicated. The cursor just changes to pointer, which is automatically what happens when you have a link anywhere in your website. To break the monotony of this text, which is the almost same font size, they've put in an image or a video in the middle, and that just makes things look very very interesting. This button changes colors, and this is the simplest button effect in the whole world. If any of you have designed in Figma even this much, you'll know what I'm talking about. Hover over it, it changes color, the simplest thing. Or you can use the exclude filter in Figma, simplifies things by 1,000 degrees. Simplest button ever. This button hasn't animated a lot either, so buttons on this UI design are very very simple text on the right side. The only thing they've made sure of is always have something work going on your website while giving it a lot of breathing room. So breathing room and a lot of elements, they found the perfect balance for that. Receipt is here as always. Again, horizontal menu bar is also there, but it doesn't do much. So again, some good, some bads. This is the first UI design. Four simple things that we learned. If you have huge paragraphs of text, put an image in the middle. Make sure to have something in each column of the website. Give it a ton of breathing room. To make sure to just have a couple of effects where you're scrolling down but the thing is going to the right, you're scrolling down, thing is going towards the left, latent scrolling tutorials and stuff like that. Just very very simple effects that have made the site with virtually no color scheme. Like black and white is not a color scheme. Black and white is the text colors you need to have every single time. Virtually zero color scheme, virtually zero complicated text, and yet this site is a complete bang. Veera here again. We've just completed the review of Silencio Espanol, and this review is coming from the complete UI design live stream reviews that we do of Awwwards websites and all the other important crazy websites in the world of UI UX design. If you liked this video, make sure to check out the complete live stream, which is somewhere around on this page, and also there's a complete playlist down below of all of the other streams and reviews that we've done. Make sure to subscribe, and awesome things are coming on this channel. I will see you again in the next video. Until then, bye.